So when it comes to the issue of discriminating against Muslims, which they absolutely should be discriminated against because what they adhere to is the epitome of evil and it is the epitome of misogynistic, and Muhammad, whom they exalt, they're naming their kid Muhammad. We should despise that name as much as we would despise the name Adolf Hitler, because Muhammad's hatred for freedom is like that of Hitler or Nazism. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's worse. We can't just call it a religion. It was a form of totalitarian government that forced itself upon other people, raped and looted and pillaged cities, and everything America does not stand for was practiced by Muhammad and the early Muslims. And they absolutely hated freedom. They absolutely were tyrants. And the epitome of evil, and this is the guy that Muslims are naming the majority of their children after, and they exalt as the most praiseworthy man to walk the earth. Muhammad was not that intelligent. If you read the Quran, it was quite incoherent. But one thing that was very brilliant about Muhammad is that he instituted his Nazi form of government, and I call it Nazi because his hatred, that form of government hates freedom and persecutes not only minorities or people that disagree with it, but that government persecutes an entire gender. And so it resembles Nazism in its level of intolerance and the way it deprives people of freedom and free speech, and not even having the freedom to question the Quran or Muhammad or speak against him. And so it's a Nazi form of government, but where he succeeded in a way that Hitler didn't is that he got people to believe that it was not only the correct God's form of government, but that it was the true monotheistic faith, and that he wrote the authentic, most pure form of the Word of God. Now, if Adolf Hitler had managed to rise to power and become recognized as a prophet who wrote the purest form of the Word of God and the true faith and the true monotheistic faith, then World War II would have never ended. If we had all these people throughout the world that believed Adolf Hitler was God's prophet and that God wrote the true scriptures, the true authentic Word of God through Adolf Hitler, and we had millions of people throughout the world facing Berlin 5 times a day, worshiping God as Hitler instituted, and practicing the form of government that Hitler instituted, Nazism and World War II would have just never ended. You cannot destroy a monotheistic faith. People have tried to destroy Christianity. It didn't work. People have tried to destroy Judaism. It just simply doesn't work. You cannot destroy a monotheistic faith. So the brilliant thing about Islam is it is a Nazi form of government, and it can never be destroyed. I mean, even if there was something that could never happen, like a worldwide crusade against Islam to just uproot Islam from the planet, there would still be Muslims practicing their faith in secret, or, doing their suicide bombings and terrorist attacks and rapes here or there, killing the infidel. There would just be absolutely no way to rid the world of a monotheistic religion. So but it's not. It's not. We need to stop calling it a religion. Okay? Sharia law and Islam are one. As long as they follow the most praiseworthy man to walk the earth, who was a military dictator and a pedophile and a terrorist mass murderer, and as long as they hold praiseworthy this man that cut off enormous amounts of heads and destroyed and purified the nations he conquered of everything that was against him, and the way he outlawed free speech, as long as these people are for him, there's no way that they can coexist with the free world. There's no way. They have to be segregated. Ideally, we do not want them in the free world. They can go live like animals, live like wild boars, and blow each other up over in the Middle East and North Africa and whatnot. But no, we should not be taking them into this country, and we should be highly suspicious of them. And as far as I'm concerned, why would we have a bunch of mosques in America? Would we want a bunch of facilities where the swastikas flown high in the air. People that embracing a Nazi philosophy that is completely opposed to democracy, and Islam has ruined more lives than Nazism. And so we object to a Confederate flag. We took down the Confederate flag. We're so scandalized by a Confederate flag, or if someone waves a swastika. What about Islam, which has destroyed more lives and conquered more nations than Nazi Germany and the Confederates combined? And we're accepting them, and we're calling it a religion of peace, where it's easily proven that it is not. Well, it's not even a religion. It's time to wake up and recognize this is a fascist form of government. And in Europe, that either the far right is going to have to get control, or Sharia law is going to get control. There's no way. Either Europe is going to have to swing far right and go fascist, which they seem to be too wimpy to do that. It's going to come down to survival. Do the Europeans want to survive? If they want to survive, they're going to have to go far right and simply become fascist and uproot this disease from Germany, not let these people get citizenship, build walls around them like we see in the West Bank, basically imprisoning them behind walls or ghettos, whatever. That's the only way Europe is going to survive. Like, seriously, start Googling the rape of Europe, the Islamic invasion of Europe, the rape epidemic, and the Muslims testifying how they're going to be having 8 to 10 or more kids, and they're going to even start having, they're conquering parts of Europe where the free world is moving out of those areas and just leaving the Muslims there to do what they please and practice Sharia law and wave their ISIS flag. I mean, the people that aren't Muslim don't want to live in those areas, like in the UK and France and stuff. So what you're going to have in Europe is you're going to have all these zones. The nations are all going to be divided into Muslim and non-Muslim sectors. And it's basically the far right is going to have to win. They cannot. It's either going to be a Muslim victory, or it's going to have to be all-out declaration of war against Islam. For Europeans to survive, they are going to have to, collectively decide Islam is a threat and it is destroying Europe, and we have to remove this. And they're going to have to purify Europe of all these leftist and liberal philosophies. And the only way to do that is a far-right big government that crushes the left and that basically does a lot of very unpleasant things to rid Europe of this disease. But it's the only way Europeans are going to survive. And, a part of me thinks, well, Europeans are too stupid to ever do that. And, well, that just means that the Muslims are going to conquer Europe, and it's going to be dominated by Islam and Sharia law. There's two options for Europe, and basically that's Sharia and fascism. And so basically Islam is responsible for the Muslim immigration to Europe, is one of the biggest promoters of far right-wing fascism. Because the more of a threat the Muslims become, the more people are going to realize that the only thing that they are going to be able to do for survival is be completely intolerant of Muslims. It's going to come down to that. It comes down to that in any place where Muslims reach a majority or 50-50. And although Muslims aren't very close to reaching a majority with the birth rate that they have and the immigration there, yes. When you have 150 million Muslim immigrants and they're all having an average of 8 to 10 kids, and the Europeans are having 1 to 2 children, yes, absolutely, it's only a matter of time before there is an Islamic majority, and Europeans are going to have to do something extremely desperate and probably shed an enormous amount of blood in order to survive. It's either going to be, they're going to come down to either we take out them or they take out us. So I hope everyone will wake up. And once again, Islam is not a religion, and they should be discriminated against, and they should be segregated, and that is common sense.